Hi everyone, this is Hillary McElhaney. Welcome back to the Nurse Preceptor channel on YouTube. I'm glad to see you here. As promised yesterday, I'm going to show you how I personally am taking my own steps to deal with the shortage of liquid acetaminophen suspension. I have been unable to locate liquid acetaminophen anywhere locally. I've checked at 3 different places and they are completely sold out. So how would I deal with that? Because I prefer to take liquid acetaminophen as opposed to the capsules. It's just easier to swallow and it's a lot tastier. And any of you with kids can certainly appreciate that. Quick plug, my book, You're on Your Own, Preparing for the Impending Healthcare Crisis. It's really a good instructional manual for any home if you would like to learn the 3 essentials that you need to have healthcare preparedness for your own home, for emergencies, and just for everyday use. I have the essential skills, knowledge, and purchases that I highly recommend every home have for contingencies such as this. I want to also emphasize I am not giving any kind of medical advice. I am not a pharmacist. I am a certified pediatric nurse practitioner and registered nurse. And I am doing this strictly for my own use, but I'm just showing you how I am doing it. The first supply I have is some acetaminophen capsules. What I am using for this is the extra strength capsules. And if you have to really look at your labels, but in each capsule, there are 500 milligrams of acetaminophen. I am intending to make a very close approximation of this liquid acetaminophen. This, you want to pay attention to the label, and what you're going to look for is the concentration that's down on the label. And in case it doesn't show up well, it is 160 milligrams in every 5 mLs of solution. So that means if you were to take 5 mLs of solution and pour it into a medicine cup, you're going to be getting 160 milligrams of medicine. So that you know, 5 mLs is the same thing as a standard teaspoon, okay? A teaspoon is 5 mLs. The other thing I have is what I'm going to be diluting my powder with, and I'm going to use corn syrup, just light corn syrup. It's very sweet. It's going to help mask the taste of the medication, which tends to be a little bit bitter. I have a little bit of water because if you've ever worked with corn syrup, it is really, really thick. So I'm going to water it down a little bit to make it easier to measure and also a little bit easier to swallow. I have a standard measuring spoon, and the one that I'm going to be using is the 1/4 teaspoon. I also need to have a measuring cup, and the one that I happen to have came with the liquid acetaminophen, and it only has hash marks for 15 mLs and 30 mLs. So I'm going to be using the 15 mL mark. I'm using one that's a little bit big so that I have room to stir what I'm going to be putting in here. And I'm also, as I add a little bit of water, it's going to go slightly over the 15 mLs. Need something to stir with. And I also have a mortar and pestle. I am going to take a second and do my math. So when you know what your concentration is that you want for your medication, and you know how much powder or how much medication you're starting with, but you don't know how much liquid to add to it to make your final concentration, you have to do a little bit of basic algebra. So here we go. We're starting with the concentration that we already know. That's the same concentration that was in the liquid children's acetaminophen, 160 milligrams in 5 mLs. I got that off of the bottle of liquid. We know that the adult capsule that we're starting with is 500 milligrams, but we don't know how much liquid to add, so that is our unknown. I set this up so that we can cross multiply and then solve for x. This is basic algebra, okay? So if we cross multiply, we get 2,500, 5 times 500, and we are going to also get 160x. So x is our unknown. We're going to isolate x on one side. When we divide both sides by 160, we get x equals 15.6 mLs. So we are going to need to come up with 15.6 milliliters of fluid to mix our 500 milligram powder into. So the issue that I have is I don't have a syringe that goes down to the 0.1 milliliters. The closest I can really get using standard kitchen measuring is that we've got a 1/4 teaspoon, which is the same thing as 1.25 mLs. So that will bring us to, if I mix my 15 mLs plus my 1.25, that brings us to a final liquid amount of 16.25. So basically it's going to be a little bit more watered down than the stuff that I would be buying out of a commercial bottle. And that's fine. Let me break this down to you to just keep it kind of simple so that you know exactly what we're doing. So we have the final dose in the bottle of commercial liquid is a final dose of 32 milligrams per 1 ml. When I have my final concentration of the one that I'm going to make, we have a final concentration of 30.8 milligrams of acetaminophen per 1 ml. 32 in the bottle that you buy, 30.8 in the one that I'm making. So it's going to slightly underdose compared to the commercial suspension. And when it comes to any medication, for myself, I would rather underdose slightly than take a chance on overdosing anything. First of all, I'm going to pour 5 mLs of water, and I'm going to pour that into my larger medicine cup. I am going to add 10 mLs of corn syrup. And if you don't have like a smaller medicine cup that has a 10 ml hash mark, you can use 2 standard teaspoons using a kitchen measuring cup. And this stuff is really, really thick. I want to caution you, I am only going to use corn syrup. If you feel that you would like to take this on at home, keep in mind something like honey should never be given to an infant. Now what I'm going to do is add my corn syrup. We have corn syrup and water mixed together now. I experimented with this yesterday, and the corn syrup by itself is so thick that it's really hard to measure it. And as you can see, coming off the spoon, it looks about the same consistency as children's medication, which is the consistency that I'm going for. And we need to add an extra 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm just going to use water for that. Now I'm going to add my 1/4 teaspoon into the medicine cup. Sorry, it's hard to do this in front of the camera. It's a little bit easier in the kitchen. If you can find adult acetaminophen that's just the plain white capsules, they're the easiest ones to crush up. I could only find these ones that have this weird gelatin coat on the outside of it. It gives me a little bit of an issue. So I'm going to put that inside my my container, and I am going to really crush this up. What you want to do is get all of the big pieces of capsule ground down to a fine powder. Now if you look really closely, you can see that my gelatin, the gelatin coating is kind of mixed in there, unfortunately. So what I'm going to have to do is take some tweezers and remove the gelatin. It's just because those pieces did not dissolve very well. You know, for anyone who may be thinking about doing this because you can't find liquid acetaminophen, you can't find a compounding pharmacy to do this for you, keep in mind that any chunks that are in it are going to give you a concentrated amount of medicine. So you do not want to put pieces of pill into your solution. You want to make sure everything is a very, very fine powder. All the pieces are really well ground up. It's just a nice white powder. Then we're going to knock all the powder. I'm going to take this and add it to my liquid. Okay. And now we have a solution that has our powdered medication mixed in with a sweet liquid. It's very palatable. What I would need to do is figure out the correct dose for myself. What I do for myself is follow that with a small spoon of corn syrup just to help with any bitter aftertaste. What I have just showed you is how I made a 500 milligram dose of liquid acetaminophen to take since I can't find any of the liquid acetaminophen anywhere, and that is the adult dose. And while we're talking about acetaminophen, if you were looking for the correct dosing for, say, a person who might be a slightly smaller size or a different age than adults, you can go to the search engine of your choice, type in children's acetaminophen dosing chart, and you will find some reputable resources there. I hope this is helpful. Please share this with anyone who you feel may benefit from this. I will do a write-up and have on my blog at HillaryMcElhaney.com. I will provide links down below as to how to find my book and how to find my website. Take care. Bye.